Okay, humor me. Everybody, listen. I have got that motherfucking guy.
uh,
Do you know how long I've been waiting to say that to you, Chandler?
that's so funny. I like that. No one's done that yet.
Whenever I heard that line, obviously we all know what's gotten the most attention is "Don't ask me how I did it. I just did it was hard." But then later comes "I'm that motherfucking guy," and I was like, that needs to be like my life motto.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. That one just came out of me.
Whatever. You just like magic just comes out of your mouth. I love it. Well, welcome to the Social Sunshine Podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you're busy. You got a lot of shit going on. Like I told you before, I wanted to share your story with everybody because one, I think it's super cool and interesting, and I absolutely totally dig your music and love what you're doing. But
Yeah,
also like the fact that you've obviously had so much attention on social media is exciting and it's inspiring. There's a lot of
thank
people
you.
that listen to the show that's what they're hoping for. And
Yeah,
so hopefully by you sharing your story will inspire some people.
for
So,
sure, for sure. Oh, yeah,
um,
that's awesome. I appreciate you having me.
yeah, of course. So to all of you listening, I was telling Chandler before we started recording, I was like hunting him down. I'm like, okay, maybe he's going to get my message on social media. I hope so. Because once somebody gets so many followers, it's hard because the messages go into a different folder and it's a whole thing. So
That's
I'm
right.
so glad I got in touch with you. Okay, so if you don't mind, let's just back up a little bit. If you don't mind sharing your music journey, if you will. I have done some reading on you. I know that you did like theater and choir and whatnot when you were a kiddo. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It goes back. I could go on and on, but abbreviated version. I am, originally from Virginia. I live here again now. But I grew up in an area code 757, which is a very prominent area code for rap music in particular. A lot of very legendary people are from that part of Virginia. It's very concentrated to there. Missy Elliott, Timbaland, Pharrell, they're all from this same place. And why I point that out is that there's a lot of opportunity, even as a young person and a kid, uh, to you know grow your artistic abilities and have them crafted, and whether it's magnet schools or community programs, and there's just a lot of opportunity there. Local access television, it's random niche things, the list goes on and on. But yeah, so I ended up I changed schools a lot. I always lived in Virginia as a kid, but I changed schools a lot with dad's work and everything. And um, I ended up in the fourth grade at a magnet school, and it was a literary arts magnet school. And they also had a music program and they had a visual arts program. And you had to audition, right, for both. You like had to take the tests, and you wouldn't necessarily get in, but if you did, you had to do it. It was a part of a program. You couldn't say no, I don't want to do this. You had to do it. So I don't really remember. If my memory serves me from what I've heard, I wasn't even that enthusiastic about doing it to begin with. But I ended up in the music, which was basically like glorified show choir. Um,
You got
and
to love a show choir, Chandler.
it was just like it's so funny, just something that I had never done. I mean, I played sports, I played soccer, and and was terrible at all of them. And then it was like divine. I don't know. It's like something like comes in, and this door opens and nobody's even like thought about, and it's totally out of necessity, like not even something that I was like, I want to go do this thing. It's like something they made you do, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, and then it just community program after community program, and then you get into middle school and they have stuff inherently at the school, and then of course by the time you get to high school you start talking about college, and then it was just like
Yes.
this ball rolling until eventually it was like, okay, well, I guess this is I just never stopped doing it after that. I guess this is what he's gonna this is what he's going to do. So it was always kind of a balance back and forth between the theater side and the music side, but they started kind of combined, you know.
Yeah. Well, I read that I read you were talking about Big and Rich and Cowboy
Yeah.
Troy, right? Back in the
Yeah.
day, like Cowboy Troy was like this cool dude that like collaborated with Big and Rich. Wasn't that I feel like I read you talking about that, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's even earlier on for real. So it's like
Yeah.
I think I was talking about that like on the radar or something, but um, it was it's they were when I think back to like people that I was like really honed in on, obsessed with, like as a musician, like the first people I can remember, it probably would have been like second or third grade. It was, I think, Horse of a Different Color, which was like their big debut album, came out like in 2004 or something.
Yeah.
So I would have been 8, which I guess is probably like second, third grade. I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I very specifically became obsessed with the portions of the album that had Cowboy Troy on it, and it was just like there was just nobody doing that, and it wasn't even like this. It wasn't like it was this uber popular thing. It was very like it was a very niche thing for like a kid to
Yeah.
grasp onto, but it kind of melded these two, worlds because there was a lot of country music in the household. All my family's from Carolina, and then this guy comes in. And he's rapping super fast, and I loved to memorize lyrics and put on little shows for my family and this and this. So this was like an impressive thing to memorize. And then, you know, and for years and years out throughout childhood, like even as my love for country music kind of, I mean, it'll always hold a place in my heart, but that's certainly not my most like prominent type of music that I listened to. But for years and years, I stayed following them very closely and following Cowboy Troy and all. So yeah, that's like a really random niche fact, but that's definitely where like the love for hip hop, like the first thing I can trace it back to
Yeah.
was him like melding these genres together.
Right. Well, I mean, that's really cool though, because I mean, I think everybody can relate to that. Like, kind of something that might seem kind of smallish or, casual that you saw or you liked that actually ends up having a big impact on you. I think that's really cool. And it proves like just sharing our talents and our stuff, like he was out there doing his thing, just like you are, and you're inspiring people too. So I think it's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Um, what about, okay, so fast forward to where you actually start rapping? Like, what's the deal
Yeah.
with that? Is this like, what was the situation? Was it for, I mean, did you just do this on your own, like at home? Did you just, I mean, how did it go?
Yeah, so it was interesting. I mean, I really loved it. I listened to a lot of it as a kid. I went to, I mean, I guess it was probably like sixth or seventh grade. Like I started like, I mean, I always recited people's rap songs, but then I started like trying to figure out how to record my own vote. I remember it was like the hardest thing ever. We also didn't have the resources that we have now. Like every MacBook comes with GarageBand in the
Yeah.
MacBook. It's like way and I mean I may figure it out. I record some of the bigger songs that I have still in GarageBand. And
Love it.
so but I remember like gaming headsets and like recording songs over other people's beats on gaming headsets like into Audacity and stuff like that. And and I would post them on YouTube under different aliases, sometimes like probably not even to my parents' knowledge. And then I just got more. I don't. It's been so long, and the lines start
Yeah.
to blur. But it's like I got more serious about it, and then like YouTube, other people beats turned into my friends' beats, and they turned into real songs that, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, it's interesting to hear the growth, but in my opinion, I mean, they're unlistenable now. But it's like,
Right.
that it turned into that, and then that turned into shows, and and like I said, I mean, in the 757 there was a lot of opportunities, so I ended up, I would rap on local access television, or I would go to the ciphers down the Sunken Garden at William and Mary, which is a college down there. And
Cool.
it was just like, yeah, it's just one thing after another, kind of,
Yeah.
fumbled into where we're at now.
Right? You're like, I don't know, Brittany, how the hell like it's here we are. Well, okay, so let's take it to when you decided to really start putting your stuff out on social. Like, I mean, so far it seems like your TikTok has clearly grown, quite large. You have like over
Uh-huh.
800,000 followers. And your Instagram is starting to go as well. But back up a little. So I know you had like, didn't you have like, I feel like Hot Pocket was like 20
Yep.
2021.
Yep.
So is that about the time that you started putting stuff on social regularly or no? Like how did that start for you?
No, I mean, so I was always very active on social, like even back before, like because I played in bands and like all that. I
Yeah,
mean, it's like that's the first time that I had things move outside of like any kind of local traction, where it was
right,
like I was reaching a larger audience for the
right.
first time. But I have always considered myself to be somebody, because I've also had like when I was working full time and stuff, I've also had jobs that involved social media a lot. I've been like marketing coordinator for like art groups and different stuff like that, and so I mean it's just always been ingrained, and I've always like, even out of necessity, out of like the need to put food on the table, had to have been on the cutting edge of every time something comes out. But yeah, I mean, Hot Pocket was definitely the first time that there was traction with the music. I had like done skits in like late 2020, like during COVID, and done some like funny, political commentary and things like that, that had moved a couple times.
Oh, I
But
gotta scroll
then,
back. I gotta scroll back.
oh, it gets hectic if you go back. I'm dancing and skits, and it's really really crazy. But it's interesting because I was like, I'm dancing to all these other people's music. I started to dance to my own music, and I had started taking what I was getting traction for, and then weaving my own music underneath those videos. And then before I knew it, it was like I hit this perfect tipping point with Hot Pocket, where all of a sudden people started to view me as a musician instead of, like a comedian, and or both or whatever. I didn't care. It was just the perfect opportunity. And then I just went full tilt. I was like,
Let's
and I
go.
stopped doing all the other stuff, and it was just all that moving
Right.
forward.
Well, you mentioned comedian, and I think about like what I observe with your music, like just from my perspective. I want to know if it's I don't know what you think of it, but I mean, like I mean, I see there's so much comedy to me. Like
Hmm.
I mean, it's so fucking funny. Like like I'm just
Yeah.
you know, but I wonder like is that something that you just was like a natural thing for you because like you appreciate comedy and then you're
Yeah.
talented. I mean, what's up with that?
Well, I always see it as like I'm not a like like I'm not a comedy rapper. I'm just like a rapper who happens to be funny. So it's like
Okay.
I'm not trying to make funny songs. That's just like
Okay.
it's actually like really, like I would like to believe it's actually really authentic music. That's just who I am. I'm
Okay.
not like trying to make people laugh. So it's like, I mean, I shouldn't say that entirely. There are times where like I'm like they're gonna think this is funny, but it's like a lot of the times, and I think that the people that I vibe with the most, and it's funny because it's two very parallel worlds. Especially like if you were to come to my state and see a show in Norfolk or DC or Richmond, you would see the people that are there, and they're like these are like old heads, and they get it. You know what I mean? Because it's like somebody that is a rapper or is somebody that's in the ciphers or somebody that is even just appreciated rap music for a long time, they usually can kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, and they hear it and they go like, yeah, it's funny, but like he clearly has done a lot of work in the lyricism, and like this, it doesn't feel, it's like it's funny, but it doesn't feel memey. It doesn't feel like
No.
clickbaity. It doesn't feel,
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah, it's like, it's about finding the balance. I think like that's been a lot of why we've started to gain traction recently, is because I think we've kind of struck that perfect balance, and people
Yep.
have started to realize it's not a joke, and that there's more, there's, stuff to
Right.
invest in, and there's going to be more. So
Yeah, no, there really is, and I totally understand what you mean. And that's exactly how it comes across to me, and I'm sure it's how it comes across to everybody else. Is like you are a rapper that is funny, and it's a like it's an organic thing. How it's coming out of you. That's totally
mhm.
how I take it, and I laugh out loud every time I hear something new of yours because I've been digging in, to it, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so funny. But what I was gonna say about you another thing whenever I was cyber stalking you so that I could be prepared for this interview. Um I think that they called you an unexpected rapper, but here's what's funny to me personally, and I'm sure there are people that relate to this. Like actually, I don't know, like where I come from, like I had friend like I had okay, we would be like with friends out in like the pasture party with like bonfire
Mhm.
and beer and everything. And you have one of my buddies is over here like singing country music on the guitar, and this other guy
Mhm.
over here can like rap Eminem like nobody's business.
Mhm.
And everybody just like comes together and brings the goods
Yeah.
together. So there
Yeah.
was a lot of stuff that was like a maybe unexpected or something like that. So I actually related to you and what you're doing in that way because I just have
Sure.
always known people that were interesting that have these creative talents, and I think we had this like kind of safe friend space where you could just like do your shit and it was cool, but I mean, otherwise though I can understand why somebody would say you're an unexpected rapper, but I think that that's you know
It's all relative, right? It's like it's
yeah,
really like
right, that's a way
that's
to put it. Yes, it's all
that,
relative.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really like that's an opinion based on like who, which like I have no problem with that moniker, because I think that to a majority of people I probably would be,
Yeah.
but it totally depends on like who you are, how you grew up, what's your background. I mean, like, you know,
Yeah.
if you like, I mean, if you had people around you that were rapping at a bonfire and doing all that, and like out of the, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, like it wouldn't feel that unexpected. But like if you grew up, like there's not a lot of people in Richmond specifically like making this specific subgenre
Yeah.
of hip hop music. So yeah, it is. I think in that, because I know the article that you're talking about, and that's RVA Mag, which is a Richmond magazine, and they that it is very different to the Richmond music scene,
Yeah.
especially in terms of like, I'm sure there's plenty of people here like attempting to do a similar thing, but actually going out in the community and putting shows on and doing all this stuff, that's when people really start to like look at you as like a local, right? And you're in the music scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in terms of the people that are doing that in the DMV in general, it is
Yeah.
very different than what a lot of
Yeah.
people are doing.
What is it? I mean, because to you, it's like you're like, well, it's me. So this is me. I'm doing my thing, whatever, right? But like, what, how, what does that felt like to feel like it's this unexpected thing of this this whole thing and getting more of the spotlight now, of course, and
Hmm.
everything like, and maybe being that unexpected person, like people like, have you had like interactions is what I'm trying to say, like on social, or people like wait, because I feel like you have, because I see you sharing these videos where you're like saying, don't ask me how I did it, I just did it was hard, like out loud, because people are like, are you really the one? So this is that whole unexpected thing, right? Like they're
Yeah.
wait a minute, is that you? I mean, what's
Yeah,
like?
yeah.
I love how you grant the request. Like you're just like you're like, okay, fine, I'll do it. I'll show you. This is me.
Yeah, I think it's really like, I think it's really important to like not get ahead of yourself, right? Because I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people in a moment like this would like take offense to something like that, like what do you mean? Of course it's me, like
Right. People saying, I don't, oh, is that really you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah, like what do you mean? Of course it's me. Like get it, get it right. And I just don't feel that way. I do. It is as it's like I always felt like there was something in entertainment, and I always felt like I had the ability to do the things that I'm doing now, but I didn't know what the path to get there was going to be, and I didn't know if I would ever find it. It wasn't really ever for me about whether or not I could do it. It was about whether or not I was ever going to come in contact with the resources to make it happen.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, in that sense, like, am I like surprised that I've gotten to a place where uh, I have the resources? Like, yeah, 110%. I definitely, and it happens so fast every time something happens. It's like, I've gotten into the habit of like I try really hard not to be like I try to look at it more as like manifesting, but every time when I post my numbers, which I know not everybody does at the end of the year, but like I'll post my Spotify numbers or whatever at the end of the year and all this stuff, and I'll always, more for myself than anybody else, try to be like, give a caption like "Want to see me do it again" or something like that, and try to kind of, you know, I don't know. There's something like in building the community and the excitement surrounding the idea that, like, man, this seems so crazy that this is happening, but what if it was that much crazier the next year? And I do it and say stuff like that as much for myself as I do to kind of get the goat of others.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
But
cool though. I
yeah,
mean, I get it. Like that's cool. And I really personally relate, and I'm sure people will, to what you said about how like you knew you could do it, you just weren't quite sure what the path would end up being. And
yeah,
that's really, really cool and really relatable as far as like, well, not everybody knows they could do it. I think more, we need to believe in ourselves. But
yeah,
but the path being different or just kind of unexpected or mysterious, if you will, like, you're not quite sure how you'll get there kind of thing. I mean, I think that that's something that I know I relate to. I'm sure a lot of people do as well.
yeah.
Tell me about okay, so a couple more questions for you. So tell me about, with when it comes to social media, as we know, like in recent years, I guess we might, I mean, it's been a long time, but whatever, the post pandemic years pretty much
Mhm.
is like there's going to be some sort of a hook or something that is going to be super popular from different songs on social media, and it's going to
Uh-huh.
go crazy, as you've experienced clearly. um do, do you ever consider that when you're writing? Is it not that you would revolve an entire song around it, but like to recognize like this shit is going to pop off on social, or it has a better chance to? Does
Yeah.
that Is that part of the process or no?
It is for me. I don't think it has to be for everybody, and it isn't always with things that move. But but there are times where I've said something and I'm like, and I know that's going to be the moment because there's a lot of stuff that like if you don't make music that people don't realize, like a random 60 seconds of a song doesn't get thrown up on TikTok as the official sound. Like the artist is picking what 60 seconds gets put there, and or the artist team, whoever is handling it for them is picking what that 60 seconds is. And so, yeah, I mean, if I don't intentionally like have a moment in mind, I will usually post bits and pieces of the whole thing, and the thing that seems to catch the most traction, I will invest in. But like for example, the "Don't ask me how I did it" thing, that I had no intent. Like I didn't even. You could have never told me in a million years that that was going to be what it was, which is the beauty, the beauty of it. And I did feel it sounds so funny now because I'm saying don't ask me how I did it. I just did it. It was hard, and it obviously it moved so organically on its own that it's almost like funny now that it's like, oh, it was hard. And now people make jokes like, oh, it was hard. It just, all these people ran off with it. It was hard. It was like, but when I said that, that is how I was feeling. Like I was in the studio and I mean, up until very recently, things were starting to look a little bleak. I'm not going to lie. It was like, that's how it goes in the music industry. When you're doing this full time, you have a moment, you plateau somewhere, and then you hope that you have another moment, and then the next time you plateau higher. And last studio session when I was doing that for On the Hunt, I've never even said a line like that before. Like, I don't even know, like, that's not even, I'm usually, like, down in my register, and I was just, like, I was, like, fit to be tied with the world that day. Yeah, it's crazy. But then there's things like I'd never hit a kid, but how old is your brother thing,
Dude,
you
I
know?
laughed so hard when I first heard that.
Yeah, like that went
It's
like, yeah, of course I did that on purpose. Like it's like, yeah, I wrote that down and I was like, well, that's gonna be the people are gonna hear that and that's gonna be the soundbite. Like, duh. So
it's
it just depends.
it's so good. Well, I know I appreciate that because I mean I think that that's something that a lot of people that are fans and listeners and viewers are don't don't know for sure how the kind of
Yeah.
the behind the scenes look at that. And I mean I think it's extremely smart. And I think that if somebody is writing um, in present day, I mean, who knows what a few years from now holds, but right now, if you're writing and you're not considering social media, I feel like that's a huge missed opportunity. Although I know that's not how everybody works, but I think it's really smart and really cool that that's kind of part of your. You recognize that and you understand, but you said you were a marketing guy. You
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, I mean it's the thing, yeah, and if
That's pretty
anybody were
cool.
to if anybody were to complain about it from an artistry perspective, it's just like I've always played kind of by the thought that like I have to always make it like majority what I want to do, right? What I want to make. But if I'm sprinkling in these things that are going to help me get to the place that I want to be, you have to build a community and build trust with that community to make, this like if I, nobody's seen me do certain things. If I go drop like the most, if I go drop the most like serious, in depth, reality shaking song that I can write, it's like I want to feel comfortable as an artist that I have built trust within my community to put a song out like that. That's how I feel. So it's like I look at, using these tools of social media and stuff and building up my platform, not so much as like that's the main thing I focus on past the music, but it's something that I is interwoven
Yeah.
with the music to, help me get to the place that I want to be, where I have, a fan base that is ready for me to do anything and get as experimental as I can be, and that's how I feel. It's a personal preference, like and comfortability as an artist, So
Yeah. Oh, I think it's extremely smart. I love it. What about so you're doing a lot of you're doing a lot of shows
uh
right now. Has that always been a big part of your music journey? Is it has it revved up a lot more lately? Like what's that looked like? I mean, how do you feel about it? I imagine that you love it. I feel like
yeah, that's
us we love an audience.
yeah. That's always what I've wanted more than anything else is to tour and to be having a theater background and kind of having to step away from that world to invest in music fully. Leaves a bit of a hole. So the touring really kind of fills that need to want to be on stage and be in front of an audience and have that you know there's nothing like that. It's just that immediate serotonin. You know, it's like you say something, you get that. It's like a wave. It's so good.
So good.
Um, and yeah, so I mean, I'm really glad that that has picked up recently, and we're at a place where I can go anywhere, and it's not. I'm not out here like selling huge venues, but that's that was never my goal. It's like mind blowing to me that I can go sell, you know, 30, 40 tickets like in Raleigh, North Carolina or something. You know what I mean? It's like that's insane to me. I'm like, I'm not from here. These people don't know me. It's like that's insane. It bodes very well for it bodes very well for the future, right? And it's something that you want to invest in and you want to scale. So yeah, I mean, I'm only planning on doing more and more of that. I mean, this next run that we've already done some of, and now we're taking a break to go back to the studio, and then we're going to go next month and be out again. There's places that I've never been before, I mean, Atlanta is like a huge rap scene. I've never even been to Atlanta. So it's like I'm super excited to go to some of these new places. And yeah, that's the real dream, honestly, is melding, my love for the stage and music, theater, and all this stuff together.
I love that. We have that in common. I'm a theater person. I did theater for like forever. So I understand that feeling that it gives you. And like you said, it kind of left a hole. So and I actually have very similar feelings about that. So yeah, ways that you can kind of get in front of an audience just in a
Yeah.
way that maybe a new way or a fresh way or a different way or something. We got
Yeah.
to get you to Houston. I'm in Houston.
It's so funny
What can
that
I do to help? We got to make this happen.
it's so funny. I have gotten, it just hasn't worked out yet, but it's right around the corner. We've like had hits for South by Southwest, and then it didn't work out, and then I've had two different support offers to go do shows in Texas with bigger artists, and just on both occasions, they just, whether it was timing wise or the money's
Yeah.
not quite right or something, it just hasn't lined up yet. But there's been like three just in this first part of the year, these first like five, 4 or 5 months or whatever. We've had a lot of Texas buzz, so I definitely think like at some point in the next year, we'll
We
probably try
got
to
to
do
do
like
it.
a Texas run.
Yes, to Texas. I mean, Texas. I mean, you gotta have Texas. I gotta like down the road from where I live is Bun B's burger place. I need to go like I need to like go in there. Is Bun B here today?
Yeah, yeah.
We need to get you on the phone with Chandler, okay?
Yeah.
They got good burgers though, I gotta say. Well, okay, so before I let you go, I wanted to see what you had to say about the social media part a little bit more, like as far as, because I know people are, like I said earlier, people are listening and watching that are really trying to do big things with social media, using it as a tool, using it to amplify their voice, all the things exactly that like what you've been doing. um what was the, in your opinion, I feel like it's good to, like, you got to get momentum somehow. Do you agree? Like when you're starting to share, is it just like share, 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 something's going to hit, or is it, how do you look at that so that somebody can understand like it might take a while to really get
Yeah.
attention on social, you know?
I mean, I think so many people like make the mistake of, well, I mean, sometimes it's a mistake and they're simply like not, and I've done it too, and simply just like not tapped in with what you do when you start to get traction. Other times, and very validly, people get, overwhelmed, and that's also a big part of it, and in my opinion, a little bit more understandable than just simply like not seeking out the information necessary to know how to make stuff happen. uh, but the I would say the biggest thing that has helped me like grow is every viral moment I've had before a viral moment happens. I repurpose and hit again, because now all those people that have just come in, made sense nothing to it. It's, a couple 100,000 on TikTok and tens of thousands on YouTube and Instagram. Those people don't know about Figure It Out, Hot Pocket, Double Goose. They don't know about all these viral moments we've had
Yep.
in the past. So we're going to go back and we're going to repurpose. We're going to try to throw gas on those fires too. And now, instead of having this one viral moment moving, now you've got the power of, and that's kind of why you always plateau at a higher place, right? Because you have, it's kind of like, having tools in a utility belt. It's like before you know it, like, because these people, you got a couple people that knew it, and they're like, "Oh, we're bringing this back," or maybe you've got some like haters that are gonna be like, "Oh, it's so old," but the vast majority of people are gonna be like, "He doesn't quit," They don't. Oh my God, because they haven't heard the back, and it's the
He
beautiful
had
thing about.
another hit. It's like
Yeah,
from
and
two and a
and
half
you're
years
like,
ago.
you don't even know this came out 3 years ago, and it's the beautiful thing about social media market, the intersection of social media and music, because it used to, music did used to have more of a clock on it, and that's why it was, when songs were, like larger than life, people would call them timeless, because there was something to, but now they truly are timeless,
Yeah.
because nobody, the way that they're being marketed, like, you're having songs from the 70s, 80s, 90s becoming fucking TikTok sounds that haven't moved a fucking
So good.
record in decades,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just this beautiful, beautiful thing about the way that music marketing works now. So
Right.
that's the biggest tip I give
I
musicians
love
in
that.
particular.
No, that's really smart, and I agree with you. Like, you got some momentum, like, just go for it. You're right. Like, the people, there's so many people, and
Yeah.
just because, even like I was looking at your stuff, I feel like so far Nothing to It has well over 10 million views when you add between like TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, for sure.
Well over that. But I mean, you're right. Like, just because even one time it goes out, you share it, and even if 5 million people saw it, well, there's still however many millions that hadn't seen it or haven't
Yeah.
seen this one or that one or whatever. So it's so smart, yeah, to like keep that momentum rolling, like you said, because you will probably plateau again later. But I love how you
Yeah.
said plateau at a higher a higher plateau. That's cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then what about like if you don't mind, somebody that really wants a little bit of nitty gritty advice on like, or just like insight on how you manage the social, like, are you at a point where you're getting support? Are you trying to personally make sure you're in there and replying to people? Like, how are you actually approaching the literal day to day of dealing with that, because you have so many followers now,
Yeah, I write everything down. I write everything down. I It's so funny. I always joke with my partner. I'm like, and it's like, and it's kind of funny, and it's almost sad at times and stuff. But it's like I don't even think anymore. Really, it's like somebody says, like, you reach out to me and you say, "Do you want to do this podcast at 1:30 on this day?" And then, like, that is it, whether we have solidified that time or not, that's going down. And then anything that needs to be done, like if you had reached out and said, these, I've got these questions, or whatever, it's like that, all these things are all going like in this big list, and that list is just like ongoing, and every single
Yeah.
day I just go down the list and I just do things until I'm like, I can't do things anymore, and then they just get moved to the next day,
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm a control freak, but I definitely, like, am very trepidatious about the idea of, like, you know, uh, letting somebody else take over before it feels totally necessary.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what, like, worth money. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know what worth money um, somebody could uh, really do in terms of like managing
Sure.
the social media at this point. And I should clarify, worth money that I could afford to pay. You know what I mean? I know obviously if I went to some big social media agency or something and, was able to give them, thousands of dollars every month to turn me into a superstar, like, yeah, of course. But I like realistically, the idea of like hiring, some like a part-time somebody, it's just not at that point. And it's the really funny thing about social media and how numbers skew everything. And like, it seems insane, but like, it could be so much more insane. It's like, it's really, it's like, it's a lot. I'm never not busy. If I'm not doing something, I'm doing that. But
But
it's
you
like,
can manage it. Yeah, you
yeah,
manage
it
it.
just hasn't
Yeah.
gotten to that. It doesn't get to that place until it's just gone and you just can't stop it.
Right. Well, I think it's actually really cool, and it's honestly putting you at a big advantage for like the future. You're laying this foundation. You already know this. You don't need me to tell you, but just as a social media um someone in the industry, like I think that when you're building something like what you're building, which is I mean it would align with a personal brand and not like a business brand, is that the fact that you're in there like in the trenches and you're in there,
Yeah.
you're replying to the comments and the messages yourself, and you're really checking things out, like that's cool. Like you are at an advantage, you're in there with the people, and it may sound cheesy, but it's totally true. And even if
Oh,
one,
yeah.
not if, but when one day the numbers are so humongous that you literally don't even have time to um, do it completely alone, you have had all of this time that you have built up this, like you said, you're building this community, this trust with these people, and
Yeah.
I think it's really fucking cool. So
Yeah, it really helps with tour, and I mean all
oh
that stuff.
yeah.
That's the other thing is the just the aspect of like getting people off of the apps and onto the streaming or out to the shows and all this stuff. Like if they were getting these, you know, inorganic like responses, like I sit in bed at night and like a partner falls asleep and then it's like I get back on the phone and it's like, hey, when you coming to PA? When you doing this? And it's like I'm sending ticket links at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and all this stuff, and that reinforces that the vulnerability, the
Yeah.
like realism, all this stuff, and like it gets people more invested in you and shows that you're a real person. It makes them want to come to the show more. It makes them want to listen to the music more, and that's how you know I like it.
I think it's great. I think it's cool. That's awesome. Well, that's helpful too, because I think a lot of people are probably under the impression that they're just supposed to magically be able to like pay to hire all these, have a posse that does all this shit. And the truth is that it's okay. You're doing it yourself for a while. Hell yeah. Like
Yeah.
that's actually a good thing. So I think that's cool. Okay. So the the last thing I was going to ask you is
Uh-huh.
about nothing to it. So the first time I saw it wasn't that long ago, just a matter of months, and it was this girl. It was on social media, of course. It was this girl that I don't know if you saw her video, but I think she's like doing like a home renovation of some sort, or like I don't know,
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the bigger
and she had
Instagram
like she
reels.
almost had like a caulk gun or like a
Yeah,
something that,
yeah, yeah,
and so I see this and I'm like, wait a minute, me, like my
yeah,
radar is on for social like trends, and I'm
yeah,
like, what the hell is this?
yeah,
And it was just so funny because she was so cute and clean, and her look, it was adorable.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, yeah. So that was how I first discovered it, and then of course I just started digging in and getting super obsessed with all your stuff.
Mhm.
How are you feeling about nothing to it, and about hearing? I don't ask me how I did. I just did. It was hard. How does it feel? Like, is it feel cool, fine, annoying? What do you think?
Um, no, I mean it's not. I think that like anybody that would be in a moment like this and you know saying that they're getting tired of hearing it, they're just asking for horrible karma.
I agree.
I
We hear that a lot, though, right? Like people are like, oh, No.
Yeah, fuck that.
No.
You're so, you know how many people would love to be in your fucking position? That's crazy. That's such a crazy mindset to have.
I agree.
No,
Oh my god, yeah.
yeah, no, I love it. I'll be like walking down the street and like a car will drive by and someone will be like, "Don't ask me out." You know, it's like it's the best feeling in the world to know that anything that I've done has resonated with even one person, let alone this many people, is like the most humbling. So everything I've ever wanted is, for anybody to give a fuck about what I have to say. Um, yeah, it's the fucking best. But again, I mean, like I said, it's like you could have never told me in a million years. That's probably another part of it, though. Is like this isn't something I was sitting on and I knew was going to be this way. Not that I ever really feel that way, but certain times, like when I was sitting on Figure It Out, I was sitting on Figure It Out for months, and I had a lot of people be like, "I feel like this might be the one, bro. This might be the thing." Nobody was doing that with nothing to it. That was like I like woke up and I was like, "You're fucking with me." I was like, "Do you see this?" Like it was like every day for the last. I mean, the song came out a little over 5 weeks ago, and I every day has been like, "You're kidding." So
Do you have the realization first through like with this particular with nothing to it? Was it like um you're looking at social and going viral first? Or you're looking at Spotify? Like what is the what is the measuring tool or the thing that grabs your attention and lets you know like, oh shit, people are into this?
yeah, I mean, so I mean, my primary focus is to get a TikTok to go viral and to turn those viewers into people that stream on Spotify and Apple Music. Those are that is my number one goal because that's where the longevity is. Those are the things that are, the majority of people in the world use Spotify. Apple Music pays significantly more, so I pay a lot of attention to that. But yeah, that's where the longevity comes in. That's where the music industry is looking to see traction. And like I said, I mean, this is so much bigger than, you know, like I'm not a influencer, right? So it's like I am focused on all that other stuff. Like I'm trying to figure out how I take this box that I'm in and I flip it and show the music industry that there is something more to it than TikTok sounds.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely my primary focus. Comments help a ton with that. That's another reason I'm deep in the comments. You will never see. You look at anyone, it would blow your mind, and you like people will be like how. I'll have friends be like, "Yeah, but I just don't know how you are so on top of it." And I'm like, "It's so easy to you put up a video, give it 5 minutes, let one person comment, and then you go in there and you say, this is the name of the song, this is where you can stream it, and you leave it there. And you do it every fucking time you post a video on any platform. And then when people like a video, where's the first place they go? They go to the comments. Who was one of the first people to comment? You. What did they see? Where to stream the song? It's that easy. It takes 10 seconds. And it changes everything. That's why people that are doing the exact same, numbers on social media in terms of views don't have the same Spotify and Apple Music streams because they're not realizing that people don't inherently, you know,
Yes, right.
people don't inherently know where to go. Not everybody knows that's how it works. You
No,
got to
and
tell
and
them.
and even if they do, Chandler, know technically know that it. You've worked in marketing, as we've mentioned multiple times, as just as I do. It actually does help to have the actual visual in front of someone to go, "Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Spotify. Oh yeah, I could go open it up." Like we're
yeah,
busy and they're scrolling and they're seeing all this shit. Like a
yeah,
reminder is a good thing.
yeah. It was
Yeah.
especially important with nothing to it because that really was a sound. It didn't pop off as a song, it popped off as a sound. So, it's very funny how, like, Figure It Out popped off as a song. It did 10,000 videos on TikTok, moved the exact same way on streaming as Nothing to It did, with literally probably at this point 20 times the amount 20, 30 maybe times the amount of videos as Figure It Out had, but moving exactly the same on streaming because it's so much more difficult to convert a sound than a song. And most people just hear that and they just think they don't even realize it's a song. They just think it's a guy saying some shit. you know
You're so right. It's taken people a little while, but especially at first, it was like, oh, that's a TikTok song, and it's like, no, it's an actual song. It's not a
Yeah, it's
TikTok
you can
song.
go listen to it. It's you can come to a show and I'll play it for you. It's a fucking song.
I love it. I love it. Well, I really am so happy that I, along with millions of others, have learned about you now. Better late than never. I know you've been at it for a while, but and I love what you're doing. Like, seriously, so stoked that you were here today and that you were willing to take the time to share, because I just know there's going to be like a lot of people listening that needed to hear something from you, and so I really appreciate it. So tell everybody, if it, here we go, tell them, just in case they don't know, just in case, where to find information. Like, if they want to go see you play in person, they want to stream your music, follow you,
Yeah.
whatever the hell, we want to share, and we'll also share it in the show notes.
For sure, for sure. Yeah. I try to keep everything very streamlined. So I'm at Chandler Matkins across platforms. If you go to my link in my bio, anything you could ever want, tour tickets, where to stream the music, Patreon, fucking, I'm selling vinyls here soon. It's all there. So, yeah, I keep it easy.
Okay, perfect. Go dive into all of the Chandler goodness. We got to get you to Houston, and we got
Yes.
to get you everywhere. Um, Thank you so much for doing this, Chandler. This was super cool for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think it's really, really cool what you're doing. I like it when people take the time to do something that isn't just simply like, hey, when did you get into music? And they're asking those intricate questions that are fun for artists to answer. It's really, really cool. So
Oh,
thank you.
good. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Well, then maybe some more we'll say, oh, we'll actually let her interview her because she didn't totally
no,
blow it.
no, it was sick. That was sick.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.